Chicagoland area. We're yesterday had a little demonstration with some supervisors from around different towns around that Paderma had put on, and so we had a good morning with that. Finished up about 12 o'clock. A little demo, a little bit of talking inside on setting up different training aspects, and that was over in Streamwood, Illinois. Then we drove over here. We're in Glenview. Got a group of 12 here with the Parks and Recs, and so we'll be working today. Looks like some weather's coming in. Hopefully everything works out good. 12 folks that we'll be working with. Great group yesterday, and we're probably going to be delayed a little bit today, but we felled one tree for the demo and all. Good bit of rain and wind coming in today. Hopefully it slacks off and lets us get out there. Quite a park area here that we're at. A lot of old homesteader things, and it's kind of an educational center as well as a nice park just to get out and walk around in. Blacksmith shop, little sawmill area, woodworking area, and pretty cool place. I hope we get to finish the class today. We got a good group going on. We'll see how it goes. This park is called the Grove, and Kinnicut, I guess, was some of the families that were here. This is a log house that they had on the homestead. It's from the 1800s, and so quite interesting. 1836 to 1856. Been around a little while. Beautiful trees here, all kinds of different species. A lot of neat marshland, a lot of neat flat land. It's so well done. Nice facility. Little bird cage. We have an owl, great horned owl in there. A sculpture of a trail marker tree. They used to bend the trees over, tie them down, look like this, so they knew where the water holes were and knew how to get back to their original trails.
something to the side also. We didn't hit the limb though, did we? Nope. Lengthwise, I don't know if it threw some out there, if it flipped it over, past that stick. So that plan was pretty good. Did our head hold or did it just go over that way? Maybe the wind turned. I use that excuse sometimes. That's always good, the wind turned, right? So that, how can we tell? If I put this back up here, where did that tree go? Is that line on the target? Is it to the right of it? Huh? Look at it real close now, make sure. Get right down behind it, just like side zone. Can't go that way, can it? It's up against the tree. So, if I think about it here, it could go that way. So probably this side's my best side to be on. And so, I can't reach all the way through, but I'm gonna reach over the log and cut this way. What's it gonna do? Is it gonna go down right there, or is it gonna come up, you think? So my compression is where? Bottom side or top side? Top side. So I'm gonna take here now, and I'm gonna do the log levitation on this one, just to show you, in case you've never seen the wedge work. I'm gonna start right there in the middle. I'm gonna start down over on that side. I'm gonna start down, I'm gonna place a wedge in the top, and I'm gonna continue cutting down, and we'll see if we can jack it up a little bit more, like if it was right on the ground, you know? And see if we can get some upward movement of it. So could roll that side, gonna go down. Could it be back pressure? Could be a little bit, huh? So, if it were right down on the ground, this one's heavy. But I drive it in, it's coming up a little slow. But watch what happens now. If I don't put a wedge or something in the top, the bottom's gonna start to slide down and close. With the wedge, pushes away from my saw. I'm about to probably weigh 150 pounds, huh? What do you think? 125? I bet I think it's 1,000 or more. That's pretty good. But the wedge kept me from binding a lot of it. I could have started that one on the bottom, couldn't I? Yeah. But you have to think about when I get up there to the top, it's going to start to pinch again. I could cut in just a little bit because I didn't go in very far and it started closing on that one. So basically the wedge helped me to get in a little bit farther. But I could have went underneath. See, now, that was all weight that was up here, wasn't it? So now I can start to think about that limb there. I don't want to pass any limbs, right? Wasn't that one of the things we talked about? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to leave that one and start cutting. I want to go ahead and take that one down because we could roll that way, couldn't it? But here I'm going to use a notch and a hinge again. And I want it to drop straight down, maybe a little bit away from that tree. So I want to angle it over this way and then cut in from the back. Or I could bore cut in. It's big enough to bore cut. But I just do just a straight cut. So I'm going to split a little bit. It seems like very brittle fiber. there. Let's see. Up against that, turning that way. There's enough pressure on the spot, on the top out there, it's coming this direction. If I go there and it's got back pressure, it's going to do what? It's going to grab my saw and integrating fiber down here. So I'm going to take and undercut again, kind of like that, offset up underneath. If I go this way, the weight's going to be on my bar. If I go this way, it's going to drop down. So I'm going to go to the left of the circle. You ever been stuck? That's the first time I've ever been stuck. Today, anyway. I'll probably have to get in the water too. Well, let's take a look here. And say, you know what? I can't afford to play. Why not? What you do? People lose them, cut them up, keep up with them. How in the world if you get stuck and you get out or keep from getting stuck? And that's what we have tractor for. We got a loader, gear, whatever. I said, that's a lot cheaper. I mean, what should the loader or skidder be doing? It should be picking up a log and taking it to the next level. If you got somebody who doesn't have wedges, who doesn't understand them, how do you get out of things like that? You gotta have the equipment coming to move them. Then you got a person on the ground next to a piece of equipment again. Goes, I don't know. There's a lot of pressure on this, a lot of weight. I use what we call offset cut. Some of y'all call it break cut, snap cut, whatever you call it. But like here on the ground, I can actually use an offset halfway in from that side, halfway in from this side. And I'm gonna say it's gonna slide down. So I'm gonna do this side first and then that side. Well, it's Friday of week 42, and we're finishing up our last training day here in Illinois, and we're still over near Western Springs. Nice facility they have here with the Parks Reserve, and so we had a good group yesterday on the inside. Did a little demonstration out here on a dead, decaying cottonwood. Got him down. Now we're going over today to Possum Hollow Woods. We're going to be over there today. Got a smaller group, about 7 folks, taking out some dead stuff and looking at some pressures and vines and things. This afternoon we head towards Massachusetts. Leaves are turning like crazy out here. It's all becoming fall. A little bit of chilled weather. It's about 36 or so, I think, this morning. A little bit of chilled weather. It starts turning pretty fast. You gotta look at your face stocks. You're gonna cut your hinge off. Look at the angle of your saw and where you're headed. Look at your angle.
We got about 6 trees down, a couple small cherries, and one clump of a white oak that was kind of died, and so we got that out of the way. You can see it's up kind of high. It's going to be interesting. Got it marked for one of the piles. We'll see what the plan is on that one. Have another cherry tree over there that was dead. We've got that one marked to be bucked, and then the other smaller section of this white oak that had died. So we'll see how that goes on the planning process with the guys. They did fairly well on the felling. Everything went pretty good. No hinges cut off or any of that kind of thing. So they had us in here clearing out a lot of dead stuff, but also we take out cherry and that kind, anything that wasn't of any value. All the oaks and the hickories and those kinds of things were to stay, but this one white oak was dead, so it'll take it. All right, hold on just a minute. Let's look at something now. When you take a notch and you go halfway in, it just moves the pinch point down. You've got about 70 degrees so there. I mean, you got a notch that's open enough, but now when you undercut, it's going to move quick. If you think about it, take your saw. Remember yesterday I talked about slide notch? Take your saw and just lay it flat on top of the log. Just lay it flat on top of the log. Flat. Now pick up about 10 degrees. And now when you cut, you just go through the bark. I mean, you don't have a lot of side weight like we had with the trees, do we? So we just come through the bark into the meat of the tree, and that's a 90-degree opening.
So we don't even have to necessarily
you don't have to, because it's hard to match up a notch on that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and you get in a bigger stuff, if you try to make a big V, it just moves the pinch point farther down.
Or even, I could feel this moving a tiny bit.
So just a little slide and an undercut, you got the same effect. It allows it to drop. It still maintains the twist, and it's easier to offset it. Because then when it goes all the way down, all you have to do is go over about a half inch or an inch and just take your tip and cut the distance or the thickness of your hinge that you left, and it is offset. You won't get stuck. But when you try to go back in that one, because of the angle of the fibers, it's going to start to try to compress. Beautiful. Did you get it all the way through? Huh? Is it bypassed on the other side too? Go back up under it and see about that far side. See if it's bypassed over there. That's good.
Fall apart and roll off.
I mean, it's cut because it's bypassed on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Probably if you go down there and shake that in just a little bit, it'll come right apart.
And by bypass, you mean like the cuts are overlapping?
Yeah, in other words, in between, see you got fiber running between the cuts. Okay. Just like splitting firewood, it'll pop apart. And so if you got a machine coming, that's all you need to do. You go down through there and make those cuts. As soon as the machine touches it, it comes apart. So let's see what happened here now. So this is up on top of the log. So what does that mean?
It means the weight.
It's attached there, so it's trying to lift up. So where's your compression side, top or bottom?
Top. It's top. So
top.
I came through with the undercut.
You should have came or you do what first to keep it from splitting? You do the compression side first with a notch, and even if you don't need it to move, you can just slide it. It's the same thing as going this way, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It still gives you the through the wood there. Now don't turn sideways. Now you'll bend your chain big time. So straighten it back up.
Straighten it up.
So now we had to figure out how we're going to get that out of there, huh? Where's this limb attached?
Here.
So where's the best place to cut them?
Over here.
Where they're attached. That way, instead of messing with all of this, because what's this fiber trying to do anyway? That was a tough spot, because what's it doing? It's split over this way, this is turned this way, and so when you start to cut, what's that fiber trying to do? It's trying to go back to its original position.
Which pinches the saw.
So you go back to the attachment point, make the cuts, that'll fall apart. But anytime you see like this, you know if it's solid there up there, the top is your compression side. Yeah, always push it towards the bar when you try to get it out, because if you try to pull it the other way, it brings your chain away from the bar, and then you've got possible crankshaft messed up. And so, where's your compression at? Bottom side or top? It's on the bottom, isn't it? So you put a slide notch on the bottom and overcut. Allow that end to touch before you cut your hinge off. Don't cut your hinge off before that end touches whatever it's going to rest on. Take the tip and cut across, it'll drop. Because this end's already touched, unless you're on the hillside, it'll drop straight down. See, so it did exactly as you said, didn't it?
It just didn't pivot. I thought it would, with the weight, it might turn on itself and...
Well, it's grounded down there a little bit. Plus, couldn't
I was
turn
thinking I was
too
going to
far.
do something like this.
Yeah. But you know, you really don't want to cut your hinge off from that same side. So, like if you're going to use a notch in the hinge and you let it rest down, in this case it goes up and then back down, is take it off from the top. Because when you continue up like this, you're going back into the compression side. And what a lot of times we do is just as you did there, oh, it comes way up real quick, and now you've got a flying chainsaw. So you want to think about let that weight rest, then you go over into the face notch, just cut down through the thickness of your hinge, that end will then drop, you know.
So it's always better on this situation like that. Once I start getting to that finishing cut, then go on top, then it'll just snap it.
Yeah, once it bottoms out, then you take the hinge off from the face notch side. Because when you go up under it, where does it put you? Let's take, for instance, that was over another log or another little dip or something. That piece could have popped way up, couldn't it? I mean, I've had them to where you take that double connection type of thing, people don't think about it, oh, it's going down, it looks good, and all of a sudden you cut that last bit of fiber off, and that thing pops up, they call it smell wood. You know, went right past your nose. Slide notch on the bottom, overcut.
It'll just free fall down flat.
But don't cut your hinge off until that end hits the dirt. And when you take the hinge off, don't stick your whole bar in there, because if it pinches 10 teeth. If you just use a tip and run across, that way it can only pinch a couple teeth if it does pinch. But usually it'll just roll right off of it.
let me caution y'all something, because one of the statistics is pretty big, and people want to help all the time. I mentioned it one time yesterday. You think about it here. He's got a 24, 28-inch bar on a saw. With me, I'm 6'1" with a 20-inch bar. If I trip over there, I can get you 11 feet away. Okay? And really, if you move that limb the wrong way, you can pinch the bar and cause him to kick. So you really want to think about it. And y'all did pretty good there, because what you did is you called him in or out, right? And so that's what you should be the one in charge of that. But once you do your job of pulling that limb or whatever, back up out of the way, because he's concentrating on the cut. And the other thing is that really you don't need to hold the limb. All you need to do is back up until he gets it cut. Then he should stop and say, help me, come in there and pull it. You don't want to really be there close enough to hold it, nor do you want to be pulling on it while he's cutting it, because you can end up causing him to get off balance. But that's something to where you get in too close, and that's what happens. I hear and read reports all the time on it, where people cleaning up on the road or whatever, and something hits somebody, or somebody gets twisted on or gets cut. I've had probably 3 in the past month. You know, I asked the question, anybody in the room been cut, you know? And a lot of times it's arms, and you ask them what happened. Well, I was cleaning up and somebody else cut me. It happens all the time. So think about, make sure that the person with the chainsaw is aware of where you are and what you're doing, and you just stand back, you know, take your time, rest a little bit, pull all the way back up to the pile or the chipper or whatever. But until he asks for help, don't get in so close, because slips, trips, and falls can happen, and he won't see where you are or whatever, and it can get dangerous. Shut it off. Don't ever do that. Put your saw back over there and you'll see. How you going to get out of the way when that thing kicks? You never do that.
What do you mean?
Turn it over like you had it. Where's the kickback corner? There's no way you can't hold down on that saw to keep it pushing back. And once it pushed back, it hits the top, it's into your leg just so fast you can't even blink. You never cut with that pointed towards a body part, because there's no way you're going to get out of the way. That saw right there is 4.5 horsepower, and you're not going to get out of the way. And what different? Why do you got to turn it over to do it? Just hold it right in the kerf and use a pulling chain. Beautiful. This afternoon we head towards Massachusetts. I think our stop tonight's in Toledo, Ohio, and get everything kind of replenished on the RV, and then we're going to be heading on to Massachusetts. Leaves are turning like crazy out here. It's all becoming fall.